Hi, Boss Life. How are you doing? Where are you watching from? Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, let me get a hi. Hi, hi, hi. Hi, hi, hi. How is life? How are you doing? How are you all doing? Let's chat a bit before we go ahead with the answers to the Bible quiz. Let me know where you're watching from. May I know where you're watching me from? Okay, we're about to answer the quiz. I don't have much time tonight. It's been a long day, and this quiz has lingered for long. I told myself that I must answer this very quiz tonight. It's tonight or nothing. And here we are about to answer the quiz. Okay? So, if you are ready, I am ready. If you're ready, I am ready. Are you ready? Let's answer the quiz. Just 10 questions. After we must have answered the 10 questions, if we still have time to chit chat, we go ahead. If not, we'll call it a day. Or you say you call it a night. All right, let's go. The first one says, this is the Bible quiz. Bible quiz. The first question or the first quiz is, what was the name of the garden where Jesus prayed before his arrest? So we're trying to answer the Bible quiz. So the first one says, what was the name of the garden where Jesus prayed before his arrest? And the answer is Gethsemane. 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 Answer to the first question is Gethsemane. The second one is, who was the oldest man in the Bible? The oldest man in the Bible. My channel is mostly of Christian content, though I do post some of my lifestyle, but it's majorly Christian content. That's why we have Bible quiz here. Hope you're enjoying it actually. I am here to answer the Bible quiz I posted some days back. Okay, so the second one says, who was the oldest man in the Bible? And we all know that is Methuselah. The oldest man is Methuselah. Will this space be able to contain it? I'll come here to write it. Methuselah. The next question is, how many books are in the Old Testament? How many books do we have in the Old Testament? We know we have 39 books in the Old Testament. And the last book of that Old Testament is no other but Malachi. Malachi. Okay? So the next verse, who said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. It's no other person but Joshua. Joshua. The fifth one. Which prophet saw a vision of dry bones? Dry bones shall rise again. Dry bones shall rise again. Say, which prophet saw a vision of dry bones? Is prophet Ezekiel. Prophet Ezekiel. Prophet Ezekiel was the prophet that saw the vision of dry bones. Then the sixth question says, which king wrote most of the book of Proverbs? We'll be hearing the books of Proverbs, book of Proverbs, book of Proverbs. Which of the Israelites king wrote most of the books? It's no other person but King Solomon. King Solomon, the wisest king. King Solomon was the person that wrote most of the book of Proverbs. Then the next question, that's question 7. Who fell asleep and fell from a window while Paul was preaching? Paul was preaching and a young man fell asleep, and because of sleeping, he fell off from the window. And what's the name of this young man? The name of the young man is no other person but Eutychus. Eutychus. Hope you see my writing. Who fell asleep and fell from a window while Paul was preaching is Eutychus. The next question says, what city's walls fell after the Israelites marched around it? 8. What city's walls fell after the Israelites marched around it? Is the walls of Jericho. The walls of Jericho fell down flat. The walls of Jericho fell down flat. As the children of God, we are praising the Lord. The walls of Jericho fell down flat. That's what gave us the idea to this very question. This question number 8. The city's wall fell after the Israelite march around it. Is the walls of Jericho. Jericho is the city's wall. Second to the last question, who interpreted the handwriting on the wall for King Belshazzar? Who interpreted the handwriting on the wall for King Belshazzar? It's no other person but Daniel. The last but not the least, what is the last book of the Old Testament? What is the last book of the Old Testament? Sorry, I swapped the question. Wow, what happened? The answer to that number 3 is here. Then this number 3, how many books are in the Old Testament? This is wrong. We have 39 books. Then number 10, what is the last book of the Old Testament? It's just you people are not following. You should have corrected me. This number 3 is not Malachi. It's how many books are in the Old Testament, and we have 39 books. Then here, the last question. So what is the last book of the Old Testament? That is where we have the Malachi. We've responded to all the questions of the Bible quiz. The first one says, let's just run through it, then we'll move from there. The first one says, what was the name of the garden where Jesus prayed before his arrest? Jesus was arrested after he prayed in a garden, and the name of that garden is what? Garden Gethsemane. Gethsemane. The next one is, who was the oldest man in the Bible? Who was the oldest man in the Bible? The answer is Methuselah. Methuselah. The next one, how many books are in the Old Testament? My initial answer, I wrote Malachi, mistaking it to be the last book of the Bible. But the actual answer to this number 3 is 39 because we're talking about the number of books in the Bible. How many are there in the Old Testament? Okay, you know the entire Bible contain there are 66 books of the Bible. The Old Testament has 29 books, while the New Testament contains 27 books. All right, so the fourth one says, who said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord? That was Joshua. Joshua said that for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. The next one said, which prophet saw a vision of dry bones? Is prophet Ezekiel. And I remembered a song when we were growing up. They played it then. And I know it's still relevant here because the Bible doesn't, will say the heaven and earth will pass away, but the word of God remains. So I remember when we were growing up, whenever we talk of the vision of dry bone, I'll hear of that. I will just remember the song. It says, dry bones shall rise again, dry bones shall rise again. Dry bones shall rise again, dry bones shall rise again. God is able to do all things, yes, He's able, dry bones shall rise again. Dry bones shall rise again, dry bones shall rise again. Dry bones shall rise again, dry bones shall rise again. God is able to do all things. Able, dry bones shall rise again. So the next question says, which king wrote most of the book of the Proverbs? And we know of the wisest king ever lived. That was King Solomon. Then the next one's question 7, who fell asleep and fell from a window while Paul was preaching? Eutychus. Number 8, what city's walls fell after the Israelites marched around it? There's this song that flashes through my mind anytime I hear about this city's walls that fell. Say the walls of Jericho fell down flat. The walls of Jericho fell down flat. As the children of God we are praising the Lord, the walls of Jericho fell down flat. The city's wall that fell after the Israelites marched around it is Jericho. The ninth question says, who interpreted the handwriting on the wall for King Belshazzar? Who interpreted the handwriting on the wall for King Belshazzar is not a person but Daniel. Then the last one says, what is the last book of the Old Testament? The last book of the Old Testament is no other but Malachi. We have 66 books of the Bible, 39 in the Old Testament, 27 in the New Testament. Okay, and the very last book of the Old Testament is Malachi. And I will still sing a rhyme. Wow, lights out in my area. Wow, wow, wow. It's total blackout here. It's forcing us to call it a night. That's what we experience most times. You have blackout. Power interruption without any notification, but it's well. We'll overcome. There's power outage. We can't see nothing. We can't see nothing. At this juncture, I think I'll call it a night. There is power outage and There's no source of power at the moment. All right, thank you for staying here with me. You've come to the end of the answers to the Bible quiz. See you next time. Thank you.